Hi, Cody.
Hi, Merav. How's it going?
Great to see you. Let me briefly introduce you. You are from the class of 2014 here at JCHS. You arrived at JCHS from Uruguay, where you spent a few years, like when you were 10 to 16, and you transferred as a junior. So, can you talk a little bit about how it was to arrive here and to get to know the community?
Absolutely. It was definitely an exciting time in my life to arrive to JCHS and to return to the US. Growing up as an expat in Uruguay was a great experience, but at the age of 16, I was quite eager to make it back to the US and to kind of prepare for college in America. And JCHS was the perfect place to feel welcomed, but to also kind of prepare myself academically for the collegiate level. And among many things, I fondly remember my teachers at JCHS, and you were particularly my favorite teacher. I know that your family is originally from Argentina. My mother is from Chile, just across the Andes, and I grew up in Uruguay, which shares a very similar type of Spanish to the Spanish spoken in Argentina. So it was great to be able to share that with a faculty member. So Merav, you worked part-time for JCHS for the last 15 years. Why is that?
Correct. I have two professions. I teach Hebrew as a second language, and I did it even in Israel before I moved to the United States 22 years ago. And my other profession is I'm a translator and an interpreter. And so whenever I'm not at JCHS teaching, I work for one of my clients translating or interpreting.
So I remember when you told us that you went and interpreted for President Obama, and I was very excited to hear that at the time. I was interested in politics, and many of my classmates were curious. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your experience translating for the President of the United States?
Sure. So, yes, I actually had the opportunity to interpret President Obama or for President Obama twice. I went with him to Israel. I mean, not with him on Air Force One, but I was in Israel during his visit. And it was exciting because you, our juniors, were in Jerusalem at the same time. And I remember joining you for dinner right after the big speech that he gave in Jerusalem. Yes, so I know it sounds very fancy and glittery that I'm translating for these high-profile people, but I have to say that when interpreters interpret for those dignitaries, we're usually kept very far away from them in a secluded booth, which is actually good. You don't want to be visible. You want to be able to focus doing your job, and there's a lot of stress around those events. And I have to say that when I interpret for people who are not as important, and we all sit around the table, then it's much more satisfying because I can see on people's face how I am able to help them communicate across languages. So you're in Washington, D.C. right now. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got there and how do you think JCHS contributed to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I recently returned to Washington I believe it was in January. I finished my first diplomatic assignment in Mumbai, India, where I was working at the US consulate as a political officer. And now I am learning Hebrew, actually, at the Foreign Service Institute and expanding the base and the foundation that I picked up at JCHS. I will be working as a consular officer in our embassy branch office in Tel Aviv. And I will be one of the Hebrew-speaking consular officers there. Just thinking about kind of the foundation that JCHS left me with. And it's not just in terms of academia, where I definitely picked up a lot of my academic skills from JCHS, especially written skills and linguistic skills. I think potentially one of the most valuable things that I got from JCHS was kind of this moral compass that you really have to carry with you as a public servant, especially carrying out foreign policy. And I think just being comfortable with your identity as well. Having studied at a Jewish school, but also pluralistic Jewish school, I felt comfortable with my identity, and I was very welcoming of others. In terms of my identity, I now have the professional identity of an American diplomat, which has its own weight and meaning, but I also have both Jewish and Latino heritages that I feel comfortable with and that I derive a lot of perspective from. And JCHS was, I think, one of the few places where someone with all these kind of identities and professional ambitions can really thrive. So I have that to thank JCHS for.
I know that recently you've met two other JCHS graduates through the same program, the same U.S. Department of State program. Did you know them before? And how can you explain the fact that out of 700 JCHS graduates, 3 of you are in the diplomatic service?
Yeah, I think it's actually quite remarkable that there are 3 known JCHS alumni. I'm sure there might be others, but I personally did not know them before. I had heard of one grad named Elijah through a friend, and I think when I arrived to JCHS, that was his first year of college, so we kind of missed each other. But we both studied in the DC area, and before our first assignments, I was going to India, he was going to Haiti. We got in touch, and we actually kind of bought each other books. He got me Shantaram, which is a popular novel that people read before going to India. And I got him a book about Haiti, and we've stayed in touch. And we're both now studying languages at the Foreign Service Institute. Now, the other grad, Rachel, I did not know of. And we were actually in the same consular training course. So when you go to serve as a consular official, you have to learn about the immigration system and how to process visas, how to take care of Americans. And the classes can be quite small. So it was roughly 20 of us. And we broke into a small group to talk about something class related. And then someone asked Rachel where she was from. She said the Bay Area. I said I finished high school in the Bay Area. And she said, no way. Which high school? I said, a small, private school. You probably haven't heard of it. She said, oh, she also went to a small private school. And I said, was it close to Fillmore and Geary? And then we both started laughing, and we realized that we both went to JCHS. Which was pretty mind-boggling. And she also knew Elijah, so I actually invited both of them over to my place and hosted them for Shabbat dinner. And we just kind of caught up and reminisced about JCHS and talked about Judaism and just how crazy it was that we were all at the State Department at the same time. So I think it really speaks volumes to the strength that JCHS has as an institution and as an incubator of rising leaders and thinkers.
I love this story and how you reconnected. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So when you arrived at JCHS as a junior, you spoke 2 languages, right? English and Spanish, and then you took a third one, Hebrew. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how you view languages in your life, their role in your life.
Yeah, we definitely share a love for languages. And I think beyond the professional realm, languages are truly transformational when it comes to traveling, when it comes to living in an international setting, and to understand a foreign culture. And so I think even if you try to learn a couple of broken words and you make that effort, people will generally appreciate it in a foreign setting. And that can potentially open doors, right? That will change your experience. So what do you think is unique about the language program at JCHS?
So we have a robust language program here. We offer 7 levels of Hebrew, and the program is focused on communicative skills. This is also true to the Spanish program that we offer here at JCHS. But in the case of Hebrew, I think what's unique about Hebrew is that it is a part of our Jewish peoplehood. It's a part of our identity. It has been for years and years. And participating in Jewish life also involves some level of feeling comfortable with Hebrew. As I mentioned, I love teaching here. I love teaching Hebrew. I love being with my students in the classroom and see them progress. And I believe that our program gives students the skills and the tools that they need, whether it's because they wish to continue with Jewish studies, or they want to be better members of their Jewish community, or if they think about spending a gap year in Israel, like many of our graduates do, or if they have family in Israel, then our program really accommodates all of those needs. So you mentioned that your next post is in Tel Aviv, which is so exciting. And I hope you'll come maybe talk to our junior class next year when they are visiting Israel in the spring. I'm sure they would love to hear from you, and they'll find so much inspiration in what you do and what you represent. Yeah, come chat with us in Hebrew.
Yes, of course. I'd be more than happy to meet with JCHS students. I remember when I was a junior and visiting Israel, meeting JCHS alum and feeling super inspired. So hopefully I'll be able to join with a couple other JCHS alum based in Israel. And yeah, I just recall our last meeting, I think, was in Tel Aviv. In 2015, I was, I think, done with my first year of college, and just these encounters, especially in Israel, are really touching. So again, another remarkable thing about JCHS, the relationships that we maintain with each other.
So Cody, thank you so much for speaking to me today. It was so great to talk to you. Un placer hablar contigo como siempre. תודה רבה ולהתראות.
תודה רבה, igualmente. Nos vemos. Chao, chao.